Hello and welcome to our channel. Today we will learn English through a beautiful story called The Last Letter from May. This story uses simple words and natural English, perfect for listening practice. Relax, enjoy the story, and learn with us. If you like this kind of video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more English stories every week. Let's begin the story. My name is Edward Blake. I am 72 years old. I live in a small village in the hills of northern England. It is a quiet place with green trees, stone houses, and narrow roads. People here know each other, and life is slow. Most of the villagers are kind, but they think I'm strange. Maybe I am. Every morning, at exactly 8 o'clock, I walk to the end of the path where my small red mailbox stands. It's a little rusty now. Like me, I open it slowly, always hoping, always expecting. But there's never anything inside, just air and silence. Still, I check it every single day. You see, I'm waiting for a letter. Not just any letter. One special letter. A letter from May. May was my wife, a beautiful, clever woman with eyes full of dreams. We met when we were young. She came from the city to visit her aunt here in the village. I was just a shy local boy. But something about her made me brave. We fell in love quickly. We got married in spring, under a tree full of white blossoms. But May was different from me. She liked cities, noise, books, art. I liked silence, the forest, the smell of rain. She stayed with me for a few years, trying to love the quiet life. But slowly, I saw the light in her eyes change. One morning, she said she needed to leave. Just for a while, she said. To go back to the city, to write, to think. She promised to write me letters. She wrote for a few months. Then the letters stopped. No goodbye, no explanation, just silence. That was 40 years ago. Many people told me to forget her, to move on. Some even said she died. But I never believed that. I still feel her presence like wind on my face. Some days, I even hear her laugh in the trees. So I kept waiting. I started writing letters to her myself. I never sent them. I just kept them in a wooden box under my bed. Hundreds of them, maybe more. I talked about the weather, about the village, about my thoughts, my dreams, my regrets. I told her how much I missed her, how I still loved her. No one ever saw those letters. Until last week, something changed. Something strange happened. Something I still don't understand. It was a Thursday morning. The sky was gray, and the cold air touched my face like a quiet whisper. I walked the same path I had walked for years, down to the little red mailbox at the end of my garden. But that morning, something was different. A boy was standing next to the mailbox. I had never seen him before. He was small, maybe 10 or 11, with messy brown hair and curious eyes that watched everything. When he saw me coming, he smiled and waved. He said, "Good morning," and I nodded politely. I could see questions already forming in his eyes. "You check your mailbox every day," he said, "but there's never any mail." I smiled. "That's true," I answered. He tilted his head and asked, "What are you waiting for?" I paused. No one had ever asked me that. Not directly. I looked at the boy for a moment, then said quietly, "I'm waiting for a letter." From who? He asked. From someone I once loved, I said. He didn't laugh or say anything strange. He just nodded, as if he understood. Maybe the letter is just late, he said, and ran off before I could reply. The next morning, he was there again, and the morning after that. His name was Oliver. He had just moved to the village with his mother after his father passed away. He was curious about everything, about my house, my books, the tall trees around the village, and about May. One day, he asked me, "Do you still love her?" "Yes," I said without hesitation, "very much." He looked thoughtful, then asked, "Do you think she'll write back?" "I don't know," I said softly, "but I still hope." A few days later, it rained hard. I invited Oliver inside for tea. He walked around the small living room and looked at the shelves, the old photos, and finally, his eyes stopped at a wooden box under the bookcase. "What's that?" he asked. "Letters," I said. "Can I read one?" I hesitated. No one had ever read them, not a single one, but I nodded. He opened the box gently, like it was something sacred. He took out a letter, then another. He read slowly and silently. Then he looked up at me with wide eyes. "These are beautiful," he said, his voice almost a whisper. "Thank you," I said quietly. He sat back for a moment, thinking. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I want to help you." "Help me?" I asked. He nodded with a little smile. "Yes, I have an idea." The next morning, Oliver came back with a piece of paper, an envelope, and a pen. He sat at the kitchen table and started writing carefully. When he was finished, he gave me the letter. I opened it with shaking hands. It was addressed to me. It was signed May. My hands were shaking as I held the letter. The paper was white and clean, the handwriting soft and careful. At the bottom, it said one name, May. I stared at it for a long time. The world around me felt quiet, almost frozen. Oliver watched me with nervous eyes. "Did you write this?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "But why?" "Because I wanted you to feel what it's like to receive a letter again," he said, "even if it's not real." At first, I didn't know what to say. A part of me felt sad, but another part, a deeper part, felt something else. Warmth, gratitude. I opened the letter. "Dear Edward, I don't know if this letter will ever reach you. I left long ago, but not a day passed when I didn't think of you. Your kindness, your quiet strength, your love, they never left my heart. I'm sorry for the silence. I was scared, lost. But if you're still waiting, still hoping, then please know, I never stopped loving you. May." It wasn't real. I knew that. Oliver had written it with his small hands and his big heart. But still, it felt real to me. It was like someone had taken all my dreams and turned them into words. The words I had waited 40 years to read. "Thank you," I said to Oliver, my voice rough. "This means more than you know." He smiled, proud and a little shy. That night, I sat by the fire and read the letter again and again. It was like a light had turned on in my old house. A soft light I hadn't felt in years. Over the next few days, Oliver and I spent more time together. I showed him my letters, not just one or two, but all of them. He read them slowly, carefully, like each one was a treasure. One afternoon, he looked up from a letter and asked, "Why don't we send these?" "Send them where?" I asked. "To her," he said, "or maybe to the world. These letters shouldn't stay in a box. I smiled. That's a nice idea, Oliver. But people don't care about old love stories. I care, H. He was quiet for a moment. Then he added, "What if we make a book?" "A book?" I repeated. "Yes, a book of letters. We can call it The Last Letter from May." The words echoed in my mind. The last letter from May. Maybe he was right. Maybe it was time to share my story. Not just with the past, but with the world. Not for May, not even for me, but for everyone who ever waited, who ever hoped, who ever loved without an answer. That night, for the first time in many years, I didn't check the mailbox. Instead, I picked up a pen, and I started writing again. Weeks passed, then months. My days changed. I was still the same old Edward Blake, living in the same quiet house, but something inside me was different. Oliver came almost every afternoon after school. We worked together on the letters. I read them aloud while he typed them into his little laptop. We laughed sometimes. We cried too, but mostly we remembered. He organized the letters by year. He made a title page, The Last Letter from May by Edward Blake. One day, he brought a small printed copy. He handed it to me with both hands, like a gift. "This is your story now," he said. I held the book and looked at the cover. It was simple, soft brown with golden letters. I had written thousands of words across decades, and now they were real. Not just thoughts in my head or paper in a box, but something people could hold, read, and feel. I placed the book on the small table by the window. Every morning I looked at it, and for the first time in 40 years, I didn't feel like I was waiting anymore. But life is full of surprises. One morning in early spring, the air smelled like flowers and the sky was clear blue. I stepped outside, just for a walk, not to check the mailbox. Still, as I passed it, I glanced at the little red door. Habit, I suppose. And then I froze. There was something inside, a white envelope. I reached in slowly, not daring to believe. My hands shook the way they did the day Oliver gave me that first pretend letter. But this one was real. The handwriting was old, careful, a little shaky. It was hers. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a single page. "Dear Edward, I don't know if you're still in the village. I don't know if you're still alive, but I had to try. I found your book. A kind boy showed me." I read every word. I cried. I remembered everything, the trees, the walks, the quiet mornings. I'm sorry for leaving. I was young, afraid. But reading your words, I felt like I never left. If you still want to see me, write back. I'll be waiting. May I sat down on the garden bench and closed my eyes. For a long time, I just breathed. The wind moved through the trees like a song. Birds sang somewhere in the distance. The past, the waiting, the silence, it all felt lighter now. I stood up, walked inside, picked up a pen, and I began to write again. But this time, it wasn't a letter to the past. It was a letter to the future. And this time, it would be sent. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story and learned new English words today. If you liked the video, please like and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to get more stories and lessons every week. Write a comment below. Tell us what you liked most or what story you want next. See you soon. Goodbye and keep learning English.